But yeah,
we could.
How would Donovan be as a number 2 to LeBron compared to Kyrie?
Jason, I mean, he'll speak for himself, but he talked me off the ledge, if you will, before we started the show, as to why ultimately the Cavs will not make a trade now for LeBron, but should absolutely go after him in free agency at the end of the year.
I've been saying
while
it for
still
years.
having all these guys.
Well, why not take another shot with him?
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, so, I mean, right when the show was starting, Brian put out a report. Brian Windhorst put out a report. He talked to Rich Paul, and Rich's like, listen, this is foolish. He ain't getting traded. They're not trading LeBron, and we're not asking for a trade. So that's over. But
has Rich always told the truth to the media?
to put his name on
Like
it
that?
like that
Yeah.
Right.
is significant.
I love the way Wendy tweeted it out, too. It's just like, there it is.
Yeah, they're like, yeah. So, and I thought it was nonsense on our morning call before the show. I thought it was crazy. I didn't think it was happening. So, but
Could they win a title this year
no,
if they made
the Lakers.
that trade?
Oh, the Cavs.
Yeah, right now.
What's the trade?
LeBron to Cleveland and Mobley and Garland to LA.
No.
Really?
No.
Wow, we all definitively said they could.
No, because LeBron, Donovan, and I guess Jarrett, like the Lakers can't win with LeBron and AD. They're a 500 team in the West, and the West isn't even that good. And
This
they're a
Cavs
500
team would be better.
It would be better, but they're not. I don't think they're winning it. This isn't LeBron of 2016. He's still really, really good. He's putting up unbelievable numbers, but he is past his prime.
Can
and
he be that guy
He can
in a
he's
7-game
that,
series?
What is this? The Toby Keith song? I ain't as good as I once was, but I can be as good once as I ever was.
Right.
That's him. Like you need him in Game 7. Okay, he can put on his cape and be that guy. But I don't know that
one
he can.
game?
I don't know that he can get you to a Game 7 anymore. The amount that it exerted out of him in those series to get to that level, I don't know that he can do it to get to that. He can do it maybe once or twice. I don't think he can do it for an entire series.
So do you think the Cavs could make
and
a
then
deeper
another
run?
series, and then another
Sure.
series?
Do you think they would be more equipped to make a deeper run if that trade were made or not?
I don't know. Here's what I do know. This is what I told Bull. I have said for years, I thought LeBron could come back. They'd win. I think they could win a championship next year if he came back.
It's very likely, I think.
I told him that.
He comes back.
I told him that in the
Is
locker
it
room.
possible, though, he goes off the cliff next year?
I mean,
No.
we've been saying that for years. He's not going to go from what he's doing now to, you know,
Yeah, it's not like football.
8,
Guys
4,
don't
and
usually,
4.
it's usually a slow
It's
decline.
a decline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he going to go? What's he averaging this year? Like 28,
Mike, what's the average?
29, 28, 20.
It's insane. what
LeBron's
he's
averaging like 25, 7, and 7. It makes
Yeah.
no
But the
sense.
averages
It
are
defies
up
all
across the
logic.
league, too.
All logic.
Yes.
But I absolutely believe if he came back. Now, if he came back, it changes the Donovan Mitchell conversation 100%. I'm not trading Donovan Mitchell. If you get and it's this is a pie in the sky discussion, but let's have fun with it. It's February and we have nothing else to talk about. But I do believe like he could come back. Like why not? Like why can't he come back?
And even if it means Donovan Mitchell walks, you don't. Who cares?
You
don't
have
trade him.
1 year with it
Yeah.
together, and you take your chances. Now they'd have to make the money work. He's not. He told me we had this conversation at Cleveland State over All-Star Weekend, and he said like I ain't a mid-level player. I ain't coming back for the mid-level. So you got to find the money. He's going to make $40 million or whatever, $50 million. You'd have to maybe trade Strus, trade LeVert. I don't know. You find a team that isn't trying to win, and you dump the money. That's not necessarily an issue, and you give them a sweetener and whatever. So it's possible. I'm not saying it's likely, but it would be possible. And I absolutely believe that he could come. That he should come back. I think he should.
I throw it on top of that. If he wants to win, that's the only way he gonna win.
He could win a title
He could win
with
the
the
title.
starting line, and that's why I don't make.
Well, there's other places he could go.
Let's say the Lakers were going to put him on the market, and they were going to. I would not trade Darius or Evan or any of these guys because he's a free agent this summer. You can keep all of those pieces,
And
have that conversation.
But it gives you another chance to win if you trade one of them.
I don't know if it gives you a better chance to win next
Yeah.
year if you keep all of them. And there's one more thing that's really important to all of this. This is not the same Cavs team that left. And everyone talks about the relationship between Dan and LeBron, and it was never good, and it wasn't. It was never, even when he came back, it wasn't very good. But this is a different team, and Dan is not the same Dan that he was in 2016, 2017,
When you say different, you
2018.
mean the personality of the team?
Well, the personality
Or the
of the
skill
team,
set, 'cause
Dan's hovering over everything that they do is very much different now just because of his health issues.
Sure.
This is a very different organization than when he left. And
when,
that's important.
when he came back, I'm gonna ask about his psyche a little bit. When you look at his psyche, is he pragmatic, emotional, or some sort of a dreamer? Because when he came back in 2016 or 2014, it just felt like some sort of fairy tale thing. Is he thinking more business now?
Yes.
Is he thinking more, calculated now? And he won't let emotions get in the way of making a decision?
When he came back in 2014, I absolutely believe he felt like he had to try and get this championship. Like he failed. He was here 7 years. They didn't get it done. It was a failure that they didn't win a championship. And also equally important, he was hated. Like he was not liked. And it was turning, he was getting more and more cheers, 2012, 2013. There was more cheers in that arena when he came, but he knew he had to make it right. And Pat Riley actually told me that. I called Pat for a story I was doing on LeBron a year or so ago, and Pat said, I knew someday he had to go back. He had to make it right because that's home. And he had to be able to go home again, and he had to make it right. Now, I don't think Pat expected him to leave when he did. He thought he was going to get more time with him. And Pat was highly upset when LeBron left to come back. But ultimately, he knew eventually LeBron was going to have to come back here to make it right. And he did. And by the way, the talent that they had, Kyrie was a big reason why he came back. Like all the draft picks that they had, that they traded 7 first-round picks in 4 years. There was a war chest of trade assets to go get the pieces that were missing. The Kevin Love, winning that draft lottery was huge to get it because they knew the Wiggins was the piece that they could go use to go get Kevin Love. He called Kevin Love. The story drops, Lee Jenkins' story drops that he's coming back, and LeBron called Kevin that afternoon. Kevin told me he was driving to work out in L.A., and LeBron called him, got his number and called him, and Kevin pulled off on the side of the road, and LeBron said, I want you with me in Cleveland. Will you come with me? And Kevin said, I'm in.
That's a call you take.
That's a call you take.
One last question. If he came home to make things right the first time, what would his motivation for coming back here a second time, even though his wife loves it in L.A.? What would be the reason to come back down?
The reason to come back now would be to put a bow on the fairy tale.
That's the same answer.
To put a bow on the fairy tale and to win a championship. They could win another championship. He went to L.A., and he said this, and I don't know, you can disagree with this statement, but he said, like, all the decisions that he made were for other people. L.A. he went because he wanted to play for the Lakers. It was like the Yankees of baseball. He wanted to play for the most storied franchise in the league, and you can argue whether that's Boston or L.A. He wanted to live in the sun and not the snow. And with all the rivalry that he's had with Boston his whole career, I don't think he could ever make that move. So he went to L.A. to play for one of the pillars of the history of the game, and he wanted to be part of that, and he has been part of that. And frankly, he has never been embraced to the level that I think he thought he would be in L.A. They never embraced him.
He was embraced here, of course, and he was embraced in Miami, but never
in LA.
He won a scoring title in L.A., and it was a blip on the radar.
He won a title.
It was like,
boom.
that was
COVID
It was COVID,
year?
but it's still a title.
But G, to your question, and it's similar. My answer would be similar to yours. He loves to be loved.
Yeah.
And because he didn't get that adoration that he thought he would by joining the Kareem, Magic, Kobe legacies, I think to put a bow on it, to wrap it up, his career started in Cleveland. He won a championship in the middle of his career in Cleveland. He can come home and ride into the sunset in Cleveland. And to the point of his wife loves L.A., she still lives in L.A. She can stay in L.A. It doesn't matter.
He's never lived away from his family.
Is there any chance,
important.
Jason, that he would go to another team?
I asked him that. I remember we were in Dallas.
Yeah.
His last year here, we were at a shoot-around in Dallas, and I knew he was leaving. Like, I just knew it was over. He got the title. It was gone. The organization, his relationship had fractured, and I said, how many is too many? How many teams is too many in your mind? Can you play for a third team, a fourth team? Like, how many is too many? And it's just one conversation. Like, he could change his mind.
And he has changed his mind on big things like this before.
But
Shaq has played for a lot.
Shaq's played for
too
a ton.
many.
Yeah.
The answer to Shaq's is too many.
He said, when I saw Michael Jordan in a uniform other than Chicago, I knew anything was possible. Like, there is no such thing. Now, he said, at the end, I don't want to get carried away with like 4, 5, 6, but three's not too many, and he's at 3.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the conversation we had over All-Star Weekend, and I mean, it broke the NBA for All-Star Weekend when
I remember.
He told me I could come back someday. Like, I wouldn't close the door on that. Yeah. And at first, he kind of dismissed it, and the more we talked, I don't know. That conversation is still stuck in the back of my head.
What was his pushback to your report?
None.
Because I thought at one point you had told a story where he was upset that you
He
reported something that he had told you.
No, so after that came out, obviously it was all over All-Star Weekend.
Right.
It took over All-Star Weekend, and then everyone started like speculating and putting their own spin on it. And you know how that goes. That's the part that upset him.
Okay.
And he got back, and he had a big mess to clean up when he got back to LA.
I
Rob
remember.
Pelinka and Jeannie Buss were not happy with him.
I remember.
And so he had some damage control to do when he got back to LA, and he said that he was taken out of context.
That was the rub.
But
That's-
he
yeah.
meant the other report, because I was mad. I never put anything on social media. I'm not going to do that. But when the Lakers came back the next time, I told him, I said, I didn't take you out of context. I wrote exactly what you said. And he said, no, you got it right.
Other reporters ran with
It was the other stuff that upset him.
Yeah,
but he
okay.
told me, like, you got it right.
I knew there was an issue there.
Yeah.
And
If he wants to be, and I've watched it online. I take the pulse of it or everything, and I think it even gets to a point. I know if it annoys me, I think it annoys him. He has statistically every record that counts. He is probably like at this point. It shouldn't even be a close argument between
the
who's
big
the
one
best.
is titles.
But here's the thing, and so the title thing gets him, and they give the Jordan 6 for 6. But the only way he can eclipse Michael Jordan at this point is if he does something that was so outlandish and so crazy that he comes back to Cleveland not once but twice, and then rides out and gets another ring.
The people that
That will totally
the
eclipse.
people that put him behind, the people that still have Jordan ahead of Michael, Jordan ahead of
always.
LeBron will never change
You
their
never-
mind.
that's it. You're in your camp.
There's
and
nothing he
nothing's
can
gonna-
do.
You know what
agree.
he's done that nobody's ever done? He's taken 3 teams to 3 franchises to championships.
Yeah.
Nobody's done that.
But
Don't
those
give me
people-
Robert Horry in that.
And I don't buy that you can't make an argument for
Robert
Michael.
Horry.
I have LeBron ahead of Michael, but I don't buy that you can't make an argument for
No,
Michael.
I believe.
Oh, of course you can.
Yeah.
You can make an argument, but
Yeah.
like, to be truthful, I don't think you could be a true basketball fan and you be realistic with yourself and say that Michael Jordan has had a better career than LeBron James. And they always talk about, oh, it's just the fact that he plays forever. That counts. Longevity and
I
consistency
think the-
count.
And
One
the
of
fact that he didn't walk away in the middle of it
You
for a
can't
couple
just
of
say
years.
titles because then Bill Russell's the greatest player
Sure.
of all time.
8 straight trips to the finals with
Unprecedented.
2 different organizations is unbelievable.
I
and,
think-
and Jerry West said, we talked to Jerry West during it was the 16. I think it was the 16 finals year the Cavs won. Jerry said, I would strangle all of you guys if I was him to hear this crap about his finals record. And Jerry, of course, has a terrible finals record.
Sure.
But he's the logo of the NBA, one of the greatest ever. But he said, and he worked for the Warriors at the time. Jerry West worked for Golden State when he was saying this. He said, go back and look at how many series LeBron's team was favored in. It was like 1 or 2. He had the number wrong. They were favored against Dallas when he was in Miami.
That was bad.
And I think that was bad. That's
Yeah.
on
That-
him.
that
That's on
hurt,
him.
bad.
That hurt the reputation.
And
Right,
it was
because Jordan never had one of those.
And he was favored, I think, against OKC, I think, maybe with Miami. But the Cavs were never a favorite in the series against the Warriors.
Right.
And I never understood, I think we've talked about this before, I never understood the fact why Michael is lauded for only getting there
Right.
6 times
I
and
know,
winning them
I'd
all.
say the same thing.
So if
I
Michael
think go ahead.
Michael had gotten to 9, if he got there earlier in his career and got to 9 finals and lost 3 of them, how is that? You know what? Like, so if LeBron had only gone those 3 times and won, that's
Yes.
better than
Right, I
taking
agree.
bad
I-
teams there and losing. I don't
Jason,
understand that
I
logic.
agree with that. However, I would argue, and again, I have LeBron personally ahead of Michael.
Right.
But I would argue, and a lot of Jordan people argue this, and I do think it's fair, that the competition he had to get through in the East was much harder than LeBron's competition.
different game too.
It was
But LeBron getting over Golden State was more impressive than all of that.
yeah.
Isaiah Thomas said this the best.
Yeah.
He said Michael Jordan played, when did he come in the league?
84.
84.
84? He never beat prime Celtics. Never beat prime Lakers. Never beat prime Pistons. Michael Jordan started winning when Isaiah Thomas was out of here. Magic Johnson got the slow jam. And Larry Bird's back was falling off. Who did he beat in their primes? And he's right. And he really wasn't even beating the 76ers.
First of all, I have to go back and look at those years because I think he eventually did beat some of those good teams. Maybe they weren't at their peak of their. But Isaiah Thomas is a major axe to grind with Michael Jordan.
And
Of course he
he
does.
also,
I gotta look at the numbers.
And he
Maybe
also,
he's right.
And he also beat the brakes off Jordan twice.
James,
and won titles.
I think the other thing, too, because I've always said that, too. I said, let's not punish LeBron because he's been to how many finals? 10? 9?
8 in a row.
Right.
One with the
I
Cavs
think
before
the
that,
ul-
9. Lakers, 10. 10
finals. So I'm not going to punish LeBron because he's been to 10 finals and only won 4. On the flip side, part of that Jordan argument is I think most basketball experts that were covering the sport at the time felt like he left 2 on the table. Now, that's on him.
Yeah.
That was his decision to
Yeah.
leave, allegedly.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the joke is Michael made 3 straight and had to retire twice.
that's it.
That's how much it takes out of you. You make it
Yes.
3 straight and he had to retire twice after he won 3 in a row.
right.
LeBron
Who's
going
the best team?
LeBron going 8 years in a row is mind-blowing.
It is mind-boggling.
It's mind-blowing.
And especially when you consider that it wasn't like he went to the other conference. He had to get past the team that was winning it in his conference
Yeah.
that he was a part of, and he moved teams, and then they make it.
What were you going to say?
Who's the best team LeBron beat in the East?
The Warriors, they won 75
No,
in the
games.
East.
Oh,
In the
okay.
East.
in the East,
He never
The
beat any
Celtics-
very
Boston
good teams.
and Miami.
Yeah, Boston was very good.
Yeah, that Boston game.
The
where
Game 7.
No, Game 6
Yes.
when he went
Game
buck
6,
wild.
yeah.
Yes,
You're right, Game
the
6.
Game 6, his second year in Miami. That thing was close to unraveling. If
It
they
was.
lost that series, they may have dismantled that whole thing.
There was talk that it was gonna end.
Yeah, and his performance in that game in
He had
Boston
45,
changed
the poster
everything.
dunk.
Held it together.
Changed
which
everything.
infuriated Cavs fans because we had seen him essentially give up
Yeah.
in a Celtics game that was his last.
Yeah.
And then to see the Wizard LeBron, I watched it and I was infuriated.
The loss to the Mavericks.
That's bad.
That's
that's
the
all-
one
it's
that
the one-
kills
That's
him the
on
most.
him.
No
That's
question.
on
Because
him.
they
Yep.
should have won that series.
Yes.
And his obviously his champion, he would have another championship.
Agreed.
I think that's the one that hurts him more than any because
That-
and then he's 5-5 in the finals and he
That
doesn't have
was
a
rock.
losing record.
That was rock bottom for him personally.
Yes.
I think
Right.
was losing that, and that's when he went home and did some soul searching. I think he talked to Hakeem Olajuwon and just sort of rebuilt. I think his mental side of the game because that's when he came back and put on that performance in Boston his second year there.
Mike's going to do a read. Before we wrap it up, let's bow it like this. Just a number. Percentage chance LeBron comes back and ends his career as a Cavalier.
33%.
Just a guess.
I think that's probably pretty close. I think he should. I think it's a possibility.
You're at 33?
I'd say
I like
33.
being on
Yeah.
the page
Only
with
way
you
it
there.
gets it done, LeBron, come back, win a championship, you move the needle 41%.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
75%.
Oh.
75%.
Well, I hope you're right.
You know the nostalgia side of LeBron.
Hold on, let me check this. Is this?
I
is
will-
this
There might be a little
is this,
difference.
is,
Kool-Aid.
is this off-season Kool-Aid, Jay?
One
Kool-Aid, look at
elephant
this
in
guy.
the room that we have not discussed.
Yeah.
It's the Bronny draft.
That's what. And listen,
That's true. It's
the
he
Bronny
has made it
draft.
clear that he wants to play at least one season.
He's not. Bronny is probably not a first-round pick,
What's he
From
doing,
what
by
I've
the way?
seen, he's not a draft pick. He's a
But-
free agent.
but the Cavs have their first-round pick.
He's not
this
playing
year.
well?
Hold on.